So why is Covered California so expensive this year? If you're watching this video, you probably have logged on to Covered California and you've seen the dramatic rate increases for next year. You're thinking to yourself, well, how the heck am I going to be able to afford this for next year? I mean, this is outrageous. Don't worry, you're not alone. Everybody on Covered California is experiencing this. I mean, in fact, it's all across the US. I mean, healthcare.gov, the federal marketplace exchange, the rates are increasing quite a lot. And in this video, I'm going to be going over why the rates are increasing so much and what you can actually do to navigate these very outrageous rate increases. I'm Sebastian. I mean, I talk to people about their health insurance every single day. So I've seen what works and I've also seen what can cost people big time, and being on the wrong plan, paying too much for coverage that you don't even need. I've seen it before, and I can hopefully just help you navigate these pretty dramatic rate increases. So let's actually get into it. So why are rates increasing so much? So there's quite a few different factors. There's really one main factor which is driving the rates up so much, which I'll be covering in a minute, but briefly I'm just going to explain a few different factors which are increasing the rates. So yeah, rising healthcare costs. I mean, this is pretty obvious, like hospitals, physicians, laboratory, etc. Healthcare services in general are becoming more expensive. But one big reason why rates are increasing a lot next year is because growing pharmacy expenditures, like GLP-1 is a very common medication, which a lot of insurance companies, they cover these high-cost medications and specialty drugs, which is part of the reason why they have to increase the rates so much. Right, inflation is another factor, of course. Tariffs is another factor. But again, these are kind of small factors in comparison to this one big factor, which is really driving the rates up so much next year. And it's the fact that the enhanced subsidies are expiring in 2026. Okay. So basically, the government will be paying less of your premium for 2026, just to put it very simply. I mean, I've made entire videos about explaining what's actually going on. Basically, back in 2021, the government has been paying a lot more towards the premiums, which is why they called it these enhanced subsidies. But these enhanced subsidies, they were really just part of the COVID era. I mean, a lot of people were losing their employer coverage during COVID, so the government wanted to step in and help pay towards premiums. But those COVID era subsidies, the enhanced subsidies, are expiring in 2025. And Congress has not done anything about it to actually extend these subsidies. I mean, yeah, there are some candidates that are trying to push the extension of these enhanced subsidies. I mean, it's October 31st at the time of this recording. Happy Halloween, by the way. And Congress has not enhanced the subsidies. They haven't extended them for next year. So, yeah. Basically, the government is just going to be paying less of your premium. On top of that, the subsidy cliff, or the income cliff is what I call it, is returning, right? This isn't going to affect a lot of people. It's more so for those who are higher income. But basically, if you're making over 400% of the federal poverty level, then you don't get a tax credit whatsoever. And that is why, if you are middle to higher income, you might have seen that maybe in 2025, you had a pretty decent tax credit, but in 2026, you put in the same income and you're not getting any sort of tax credit whatsoever. And the reason being is most likely because of the income cliff, right? And I've made an entire video explaining the income cliff, the Covered California income chart. So just stay tuned. I will link that video at the end of this video. All right, let's keep going. So Covered California carrier rate increases for 2026. These are the official rate increases for next year, with the overall rate increase being 10.3% on Covered California. So on top of the enhanced subsidies expiring and the government not paying as much towards your premium, the actual premium itself is increasing because of the factors that I've mentioned earlier, rising healthcare costs, and the number one reason why these carriers are increasing the rate so much is because the enhanced subsidies are expiring. Well, why do carriers increase their rates when the enhanced subsidies expire? Well, the reason for that is because, okay, let's just say we have somebody who's healthy, right? And they are paying, in 2025, they've been paying $400 a month for their premium, right? And they're happy with that. They pay $400 a month. All of a sudden, in 2026, the same exact plan, right? Still healthy, Same exact plan goes up to $750. And I'm not just making up these numbers, right? Like these are the type of rate increases that people are seeing. So the same exact plan. In fact, the plans are generally getting worse next year. Max out-of-pockets are higher, deductibles are higher, copays are higher. So they're actually paying more for a plan that's worse than they had the previous year. Right? And if you're healthy and you're paying that much more for health insurance, they're not going to be happy, right? They're going to be like, you know what? I don't even go to the doctor. I don't have any prescriptions. I can't justify paying this huge rate increase. I'm just going to drop my coverage. So we're going to have a lot of people dropping their coverage, healthy people dropping their coverage. And what does that do to the insurance itself? Well, when you have a lot of healthy people leaving the insurance plan and a lot of unhealthy people on the insurance plan because they don't have a choice, they see doctors regularly, they pick up prescriptions, they can't go without this insurance. Maybe unlike a healthy person could just drop that coverage, right? They don't have the choice, they just have to pay the higher premium. So we're going to have a lot of unhealthy people on health insurance and a lot of healthy people leaving it. And what that does is it generally increases the cost for the health insurance carriers because you have less people paying towards the premiums and there's going to be more medical bills on average per member. Again, because you have this unhealthy pool of insureds. So it's kind of just like this vicious cycle, healthy people dropping their coverage and leaving unhealthy people on the plan, which is increasing the rates for everybody. But the good news, which you could take from this, is covered California rate increases aren't nearly as bad as other states. I mean, California, we're at 10%. Other states, look at Colorado. They're at over 25%. Almost at a 30% rate increase. And the reason being is because California is a pretty healthy state. Carriers are able to have more stable rates compared to other unhealthy states, we'll just say. And on top of that, the state of California is putting in an effort to actually lower costs for people, specifically lower income families, those who are between 100 to 150% of the federal poverty level. They are allocating $190 million to state subsidies, which lowers the premium for lower income individuals and families. Bad news, though, is that there is reduced funding for the Silver 73 plan. The Silver 73 plan was this gold level plan that you could get at the cost of the Silver plan. And it was pretty much available to everybody regardless of income. But the reason why it was available to everybody is because the state of California put in a lot of funding to be able to make that possible. But instead of using that funding towards the Silver 73 plan, in 2026, they are going to be, using that funding towards lower income individuals and families with these state subsidies. Right, with all this said, this is a lot of information, but let's actually get into what you can do about these big rate increases. So 3 main things, right? If possible, see if you can switch carriers. The main thing about Covered California is that the plans are standardized, which means when it comes to finding a plan, it's primarily just picking an insurance company, right? Like if you want a bigger network of doctors and hospitals, you might be on Blue Shield, you might be on Anthem Blue Cross, right? And the thing about those carriers is that they cost a lot more compared to the other carriers. If you're fine being on a network that's a little bit smaller, and maybe you don't have access to as many doctors and hospitals, considering that and going with a lower cost carrier is better than just dropping your coverage altogether. The other option would be to switch plans, right? If you're on a gold or platinum plan, maybe consider a silver or a bronze plan, because if you can't even afford the gold plan, then you might not even have another option. And last, employer coverage. If you or your spouse have employer coverage that's offered to you, definitely consider it. Check with your employer, check with your spouse's employer. The plans that they offer may be better than Covered California for 2026. But in a future video, I'm going to be going a lot more in depth on how to actually save more money with Covered California. And I hope you enjoyed this video and found it helpful, and subscribe because I'll show you how to save money on your health insurance if you live in California. And yeah, I'll see you in the next video.